Welcome to Kat's Kitchen. My name is Kat, and today I'm going to be answering all of your Torani syrup and sauce questions. First things first, I want to mention I have a giant Torani blog post with all of my recipes I have ever posted on Instagram or YouTube. And it's organized by syrup flavor in alphabetical order. So every syrup flavor I have ever owned and tried and made a recipe for, that recipe is in that blog post. So for example, maybe you need vanilla syrup inspiration. Tap the link in the description, scroll down to the bottom since V is towards the end of the alphabet, and you'll see vanilla syrup, and I'll have all my recipes that use vanilla syrup. So if you ever need inspiration for a specific flavor, check that blog post, bookmark it, save it so you can reference it. And if you don't see a flavor listed there, it's just because I either haven't owned it before or I just haven't used it yet in a recipe. And before we start, I want you to drop your absolute favorite Torani syrup or sauce flavor down in the comments. I'm just really curious to know which flavors you guys love the most. All right, question number one. Torani pure made versus regular versus sugar-free. Torani regular syrups have pure cane sugar, water, natural and artificial flavors, citric acid, potassium sorbate to preserve freshness, sodium benzoate to preserve freshness, and caramel color. Some preservatives, sugar, water, flavorings, and some artificial coloring. That's what goes into these syrups. So you'll see, for example, the sour candy. Like, this is super red and colorful, right? This has a lot of artificial colorings in it to make it look this red. Pure made syrups like this lavender one. Ingredients: pure cane sugar, water, extracts of oregano, flaxseed, and plum to ensure freshness. Fruit and vegetable juice for color, citric acid, xanthan gum, natural flavors, color from natural sources. So their pure made syrups are just a little bit more natural ingredients. So they don't have any artificial colorings, preservatives, flavorings. The pure made are more expensive than these because they use more natural ingredients. Also, you'll notice that some of the colors are different. Like the Torani regular lavender is way more light purple than this one. This is just like a deeper, darker purple. So you'll notice that the colors are a little bit different because artificial coloring versus natural coloring. And then the sugar-free syrups, you will know it's sugar-free because the entire label is blue versus it's red on top here, blue on the bottom. Entire blue label bottle means sugar-free, and then they do always indicate here. And instead of the cane sugar that these have, the pure cane sugar, these use sucralose to sweeten them to make them sugar-free. They also do have the pure made and sugar-free. I know not every single flavor, but they do have that as an option. So that's the difference between the syrups. Syrups versus sauces. These are the Torani pure made sauces. This chocolate one is dairy-free, but the white chocolate one is not dairy-free, and the caramel one is not dairy-free. But these are part of their pure made line, so there's no artificial flavors, preservatives, or GMOs. The sauces are really just thicker. They're like a thicker liquid, thicker viscosity, and they don't mix as well in like cold coffees. So cold brew, if you add a drizzle of the sauce into the cold brew, it's just gonna sink to the bottom, and you really have to work it into the cold brew to get it to mix. And it doesn't really fully dissolve in the drink, versus if you were to add a syrup right into cold brew, it would just dissolve right away because it's liquid in liquid. I like to use the sauces for anything hot. So if you're doing a hot latte, hot Americano, hot coffee, whatever, add this, add your hot coffee or hot espresso, and it will dissolve because the hot liquid will break up the sauce. I like to use it to drizzle on top of drinks, like on top of whipped cream, or for like a caramel macchiato, drizzle some caramel over the top, chocolate sauce over the top. I like to add them to frappes because you're blending it in a blender and they totally mix in very well. That's the difference between these sauces and the syrups. Next question. Can you talk about the flavor families and what they mean? Yeah, absolutely. They have what's called flavor families, meaning they're all vanilla, but they're slightly different flavor notes. So vanilla salt has a little bit more saltiness to it than just regular vanilla. French vanilla has a little bit more buttery carameliness to it than the regular vanilla. You can get away with using whichever one in any recipe. You could even just add a little pinch of salt to your regular vanilla syrup to make your own vanilla salt flavor. You don't need to get every single variation of the flavor families if you don't want to. You'll see that sometimes in my recipe, I'll specify that I'm using French vanilla, and it's just because because in the recipe, I might have used vanilla and been like, this is just a little bit off. I wish it had a little bit more buttery carameliness. Then I use the French vanilla. I'm like, yeah, this right here is exactly what I'm looking for. So if you're using just regular vanilla while I use French vanilla in a recipe, it's not gonna taste bad. It just might be ever so slightly missing something, just ever so slightly. Same thing with the caramels. I use the classic caramel for forever, and I just used to add a pinch of salt to it to make salted caramel. But basically the flavor families just have slightly different flavor notes to them. There are subtle differences that you will be able to tell in the drink. It's not gonna be disgusting versus great. There's gonna be slightly different flavor notes. You can read all about the Torani families online. If you're not sure which syrup to get in a syrup family, go on Torani's website, look at the flavor note description on there, and you can make your choice that way. What's the cheapest way to build a stash? My all-time favorite place to buy Torani syrups is called the US Foods Chef's Store. It's like a giant warehouse for mostly restaurant owners, and I randomly came across them, and they sell Torani syrups, and they have a humongous collection. I know not every location is like that, but the US Food Chef's Store, the syrups are like $6 to $7, usually like $6.50. Another place is called Smart and Final. Again, another like bulk type of store, and they have a huge Torani collection for about the same price as the chef store. I would Google Torani syrups near me, restaurant warehouse store near me, any place that you can go into that doesn't require a membership that you can go and shop for Torani syrups. That's gonna be a fantastic way to build your collection. You buy 5 for under 40 bucks. That would be the cheapest option. The next best place would be Torani website or World Market. They're about the same price. If you buy, I think 5 syrups on Torani website, then you get like free shipping. These are about 10-ish bucks on the Torani website. World Market, you can avoid the whole shipping fee. They're about the same price as the Torani website. World Market has these little, they're like packs of 3 to 5. So you can get small ones like this and try out multiple flavors at one time before committing to the larger bottles. World Market sells these, and so does Torani website. How long do syrups stay fresh, and what's the best way to store them? They stay fresh for a long time. I would say 1 to 2 years, which I know is like a wide range. They don't go bad. The only thing I have noticed is they just lose their potency. After about a year, they're less flavorful. I noticed you have to add a lot more of the syrup to even taste what flavor it is. So I've noticed that they just lose their flavor or their potency over time. The best way to store them, I like to store them on the counter like I have here. Those are my like most used ones, but I do have a cabinet for them, or this is really like a TV unit where I just keep them in alphabetical order so I can easily find them if I need to for recipes. I also have my sugar-free ones and pure-made ones over here in like this wine rack because I've been using them a lot and it just makes them easier to find. Keep them in a neutral temperature place, so not too hot, not too cold. Keep them off the floor and keep them clean. So if you spill a little bit on the outside of the bottle, just wipe it off with some soap and a wet rag because you don't want to get ants. Also, I personally don't love the pumps. I just can't stand them. They leak, they attract ants, they're inconsistent. When I first started using the Torani syrups, we used pumps, and if it was like just a couple days without using that flavored syrup, you'd go to pump out the syrup and it would crystallize. Like there'd be like a crystallized block of syrup and you'd be trying to push down the pump and it was just so difficult and it would shoot out and you get like this inconsistent amount of syrup every single time. It drove me nuts. So I keep the caps, no pumps, and I just either eyeball the amount that I want or I'll actually measure with a measuring spoon. But I know some people love the pumps, totally fine. I just have not loved my experience with the pumps. And also I hear that lots of people get ants with the pumps. I have never had ants. And for the sauces, these say refrigeration not required, so I don't refrigerate them. I keep them same place on the counter or in the cupboard. They stay fine. I've never had a problem with molding. Someone asked me if they like ever molded. She did say she also had a pump. Just saying. I've never had an issue with these. Ever, ever, never. Don't put them in the fridge. They're gonna be hard as a rock. You're not gonna be able to squeeze them out. Keep them on the counter or in the cupboard with the rest of your syrups. Thoughts on the sugar-free syrups for coffees or other drinks? I used to be super against the sugar-free syrups. I was like, no, just enjoy your coffee, enjoy your drinks. But this year, I just started to be more mindful of my sugar intake, and I noticed I was just consuming a lot more sugar than I realized throughout the day. And so because I want to enjoy dessert at the end end of the day, I have been using more sugar-free syrups in my day-to-day. For my morning coffee, I love just a regular full sugar, but I'll only do about half a tablespoon of that, which is 5.5 grams of sugar. I've been loving the chocolate chip cookie dough one in my cold brew. But for like any other drink during the day, a sparkling water, a soda, a tea, I'll use sugar-free, fruity flavors. I do like the fruity sugar-free flavors a bit more than like the coffee ones. So like sugar-free caramel, hazelnut, those aren't bad. I just prefer my coffee flavors to be regular sugar, and then my teas, sodas, sparkling waters with the fruity flavors, I want those fruity flavored ones to be sugar-free. But that's just my preference. People always say, can you notice a difference with sugar-free? Yeah, you can. Just like Coke and Diet Coke, they taste different, you know? Some people love it, some people hate it. That's exactly how it is with the sugar-free syrups. I don't think the sugar-free ones are bad, but they do taste different. You're gonna taste that there's no pure cane sugar because there's no pure cane sugar in the sugar-free ones. If you are trying to incorporate more sugar-free syrups, maybe you bought one and you don't super love it, or you're trying to limit your sugar, some things you can do. Number one, follow my half and half method, which is to do half of a regular sugar syrup and half of a sugar-free one. So say you like 1 full tablespoon of syrup in your coffee, maybe you get the regular vanilla and sugar-free vanilla, and you do half a tablespoon of each one. That way you're still only getting half the sugar, but you're still getting the full amount of sweetness. Or you can combine 2 syrup flavors. So vanilla and caramel, maybe you have sugar-free vanilla and regular caramel, half a tablespoon of each or a tablespoon of each. Again, you're getting the full amount of sweetness with half the amount of sugar. I do think just sugar-free syrups alone can taste just a little off. So sometimes I'll do, you know, sugar-free syrup, most of it, and then just a tiny itty bit amount of regular to get the, you know, real pure cane sugar sweetness that you get in a regular syrup, but with much less calories and sugar. Also, with these sugar-free fruity flavors, if you're not doing this already, add true lime. I buy them by the box because I go through them so quickly. How many are in here? 400? 500. This is like my 4th box. They're just little packets, like a sugar packet, and it's crystallized lime inside of here. Each packet is the equivalent to 1 lime wedge. That's like the same liminess, tartness, no sugar, no calories. Love true lime. And when you pair the true lime with the sugar-free syrup, you will never know it's sugar-free. I guarantee you. I don't know what magic sorcery, you know, is going on when you add sugar-free syrups with the lime packets, but it's a game changer. And also they have true lemon and true grapefruit. I have not tried either of those. I need to try them. I just love true lime so much, hence the giant box. I do it in Diet Coke, lemonades, sparkling waters every single day. For the pumps, what does each pump measure? Like I mentioned before, I don't love the pumps, but I had bought some thinking I was gonna use them. No, I hate them, but we'll test it out. Test pump. Okay, that was a test pump. We'll do a real pump, and I wanna measure it too. We'll measure in milliliters. 1 pump is 12.1 milliliters. I'm gonna tear it out and see if I get another consistent pump. 12.5, a little bit higher. Do another one. 12.7. Am I just pumping stronger each time? First one was 12.1. Not a big deal. We're still at 12, but there is, you know, we're going up a little bit. We'll keep going. 12.7. All right, so we're somewhere between 12 and 13 milliliters per pump. A serving size is 2 tablespoons or 30 milliliters. I would always say that each pump is half a tablespoon, but this is coming out 12 milliliters and my 1 tablespoon says 15 milliliters. So it's like just shy of a tablespoon. That means 2 pumps is gonna be just under this serving size. Using these pumps, you know, it could be different based on each pump. So what I would do if I were you, if you're concerned about how many calories or sugar you're consuming, I would do exactly what I'm doing. I would take your cup, put it on a scale, tear it out, put 1 pump in it, and then weigh it and see how much it weighs. If you're right at 15, then that would be equivalent to 1 tablespoon of syrup. I'm just gonna do a pump in here. Let's just see. Yeah, we almost fill up the tablespoon, almost. Again, can completely depend on the pump. So I'm not gonna say every pump is about a tablespoon. These ones that I bought are just shy of a tablespoon, where they're about 12 to 13 milliliters of liquid. Someone asked me for amaretto syrup drink ideas. I do not own the Torani amaretto syrup, but the Torani website has a recipe library that you can just go to their website, click on recipes and type in amaretto or lavender, whatever flavor, and it'll bring up all the recipes that have that flavor. So similar to what my blog post does. Torani has a whole bunch of recipes. So I did look that up. They have an amaretto cappuccino, mocha, iced or hot latte, or a hot chocolate. They had other recipes. You can feel free to look those up, but those are a few ideas. Next question, standard syrup to espresso to milk ratio. So I'm assuming this is for a latte. My ideal standard ratios for an iced latte or a hot latte go as follows. Half a tablespoon of syrup or half a pump, 2 shots of espresso or about 2.5 fluid ounces, 6 ounces of milk. That is my ideal. I like a stronger coffee vibe without it being too sweet. The typical Starbucks ratio is 2 tablespoons of syrup instead of half a tablespoon. They do 2 tablespoons, so 4 times as sweet. 2 shots of espresso, same 2.5 ounces of liquid, and 10 to 12 ounces of milk. So with Starbucks drinks, they're gonna be a lot more milky and a lot more sweet. I like to always bump down the sweetener, add more espresso when I order at Starbucks or really any other coffee shop. That's more of their standard recipe. I know not everyone has my same taste preference. Add more syrup if you need more sweetener, or add more milk, add less milk. You have to play with the ratios. That's why I very much recommend weighing everything when you first start and making note of it. If you're doing 2 pumps of syrup and you're like, wow, this is way too sweet, next time do 1 pump. If you're doing 10 ounces of milk and you're like, oh, this is too milky, next time drop it down to 8 ounces. Weigh everything out, measure it, mark it down so you know exactly what you're doing. Don't just dump everything into your drink and be like, oh, this doesn't taste good. Until you can eyeball, always measure it out to start. How do you keep your bottles clean? I always have like that crusty ring around them. Some of them just stay clean. Like maybe if I don't use them very often, this one's getting pretty crusty. So what I do, get a little spoon to just break this crystallized sugar off the syrup bottle. Get the crusties off with a spoon or a wet rag, just like that. Nothing crazy. Wipe it down, and then I just wipe the rest of it. That way we don't get ants. Beautiful. Stunning. That's it. Any surprisingly good flavor combinations? I loved the Torani sugar-free peanut butter and strawberry for a PB&J cold brew. That was so good. Sugar-free strawberry and sugar-free peach I have been loving lately. I had been doing raspberry coconut and loved that, but then I recently switched to strawberry peach and sparkling water with true lime. Love that. Vanilla and peach, I love that in a Diet Coke. Blackberry and vanilla is also really good. Ooh, and then blackberry and dark chocolate sauce for a blackberry mocha. I didn't expect to like that as much as I did, but that was really good. Best syrups for cold brew, I'm just gonna rattle these off. Salted caramel, chocolate chip cookie dough, cupcake, hazelnut, Irish cream, yum, vanilla, pumpkin, brown sugar, cinnamon, cheesecake, pistachio, lavender, and peppermint are all of my favorites in cold brew. Best syrups for matcha. My favorite non-fruity flavors for matcha are vanilla, brown sugar, cinnamon, chai tea spice. That one's really good in matcha. White chocolate, pumpkin, dark chocolate. I really like a chocolate cold foam on top of a matcha latte. So good. And then for fruity flavors in a matcha, I like lavender, strawberry, raspberry, the Torani Galaxy syrup, mango, hibiscus, blueberry, or pumpkin. I'm not sure if pumpkin's technically a non-fruity flavor, so I added it to both lists. Torani coffee flavor. Someone asked if Torani had a coffee flavor. They do. I have their sugar-free version of it. I'm not 100% sure if they have a regular version, but I thought we could taste test this together today. I really had to do some research on why you would want a coffee flavored syrup, but it's pretty common in like cocktails or mocktails in place of coffee liqueur. I don't drink alcohol, so I have never tried coffee liqueur, so I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I saw a lot of people adding this to milk to make coffee milk, so let's do that. I guess coffee milk is like a popular thing in the Midwest is where I saw it. Maybe Rhode Island, I don't remember. Ooh. I did not expect it to smell like that. First whiff, didn't love. Second whiff, still didn't love. It just, it smells like stale beans. Wow, I was not expecting to not like the smell of it. You know what it smells like? Okay, you know what it smells like? It smells like when someone has bad coffee breath and it's like that stale coffee scent. That's what this smells like. Anyway, adding in Torani coffee syrup and some milk. I do love coffee milk. Maybe a little more. You can buy coffee milk from the grocery store. This would be a lower sugar option. That is one of my biggest beefs about it. Taste test. It totally tastes like these Starbucks Frappuccino glass bottles. That's exactly what it tastes like. It's okay. It says it's also good in frappes, milkshakes, or hot cocoa. I think this is a really good option for adding that coffee flavor without any caffeine. There's no caffeine in this. So if you want to make a frappe for your kiddos and, you know, have a coffee vibe without the caffeine so you can share with them, this would be perfect. I think it would be good in a frappe or a milkshake. My recommended flavors to start. These are my all-time faves. You can make a lot with them and they pair very nicely with other flavors. Torani caramel sauce, white chocolate sauce, dark chocolate sauce, really any other sauces. I love their pumpkin sauce as well. Salted caramel syrup, chocolate chip cookie dough, my one true love, Irish cream, vanilla and or sugar-free vanilla, brown sugar cinnamon, cupcake or shortbread. Those are like my recommended flavors to start. You can make so many lattes, cold brews, frappes, all sorts of drinks with those flavors. And then for fruity ones, my recommended ones, peach, raspberry, coconut, blue raspberry, blackberry, love that one. Mojito mint, love that one. Strawberry, watermelon, pomegranate, passion fruit, kiwi, cantaloupe, or sour candy. You can add any of those to lemonades, a Red Bull or energy drink, sparkling water, teas, literally whatever you want, and they taste delicious. There you have it. All the questions answered about Torani syrups and sauces. If you have more questions, definitely feel free to ask them below. Don't forget that I have the giant blog post that I update weekly with all of my Torani syrup recipes. It'll have every recipe I've ever made on Instagram or YouTube, organized by syrup flavor in alphabetical order. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little something about Torani syrups. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Mwah. God bless.